Welcome to The Big Picture. I'm Phil Arno. One of the things we talk about a lot here on The Big Picture is how lucky we are to be in Western New York in such a close-knit community, a place where people come together with a sense of pride in their surroundings and in their heritage. If you haven't lived in another area, it's hard to imagine how different that can be once you've moved away from Buffalo. I lived in the Los Angeles area for a long time. There are a lot of great things about that area. The weather's terrific. There's a lot of exciting things happening all the time. It's a beautiful landscape. But there's also a lot of things to be desired. Too much traffic, really expensive to find housing, taxes, regulations. Did I mention traffic? Well, the other thing that really sticks out is there is little or no sense of community in Southern California. Everyone, it seems, is from somewhere else. When I first lived out there, I went to a football game, the Bills versus the Rams. I was expecting to be one of the few Bills fans rooting for my team. As soon as I got out of the car in the parking lot, I was passed by 6 Bills fans in Buffalo colors, and then another 5, another 3, and then 10 more. Turns out there were 27 banners hung around the stadium that day. 23 of them were for the Bills. It was like a home game. The longer I lived there, the more I realized that fan loyalty was almost always for the visitors. Strange to think about that if you're from Buffalo. Well, one of the truly nice things about being from this area, about living in this area, is that deep down in, we know we can count on each other. Oh, sure, sometimes we cut each other off in traffic. Maybe some families don't get along too well. Some school sports rivalries can get a little heated. Nothing's perfect. But when things get rough, when a homeless guy takes it on the chin in sub-zero temperatures, when a puppy is found in a dumpster and doesn't get a break, when a blizzard hits and things are serious, we care. We all feel the pain. We all want to help. And that's what makes our area a blessing. That's what makes Buffalo a warm place to live. This week on The Big Picture, we're going to talk to representatives of 2 examples of that kind of spirit of giving, that spirit of community. First, Dennis Walczak joins us. He's with the Catholic Charities, and he's been with the Catholic Charities since 1997. Now he's president and CEO of the Appeal. And welcome to the show, Dennis.
Thank you very much.
We're going to kick off, we've actually kicked off as of January 12th, the Appeal this year, and the goal is $11 million. Right. So far, how is it going?
Well, we've gotten off to a rousing start, and to this point, we've already raised about $1.5 million in cash and pledges, and we're well on our way to meet our $11 million goal.
Well, and it's more often than not, it's been very successful in the past. This year, and I have to start out by asking this, there's been a lot of turmoil in the diocese, a lot of scandals and negative press. And I wonder, is that something that you think may have any influence or effect on the appeal this year?
The whole issue of sex abuse is a tragedy, not only locally, but worldwide, and it is extremely, extremely sad that this is happening. And of course, people are upset, they're angry, rightfully so. So we are concerned about the impact that this would have on us. We, in a sense, are an easy mark for people because they feel I can express my negative feelings or anger towards the Catholic Church by withholding a contribution to Catholic Charities. Our message to people who feel that way is we understand the pain and hurt that you're going through and the sadness, but why take it out on people who really need the help? And every dollar that we don't receive that goes to programs and services really has a negative impact on serving the needs of, last year we served over 150,000 people in Western New York. And in addition to that, many of the people we serve are those who have been victimized by the clergy who have been victims of elder abuse, who have been women who've been domestic violence victims. So withholding your contribution negatively affects people who really need help.
And that's really the bottom line is, this is a charity that does great things. The Better Business Bureau gives it a very, very high rating in terms of charities. It's always been well respected because most of the funds do go directly to the services. You have a very well respected track record in terms of the effectiveness of the donations. Is that correct?
Not only are we accredited and certified by the Better Business Bureau, but we're also accredited by an international organization called the Council on Accreditation. Both bodies attest to the fact and document the fact that we not only meet but exceed best practice standards for organizations like us that serve a wide range in our community. Also, to the efficiency and effectiveness of our services is attested to. We spend over 85% of money that we receive from all sources to support the programs and services that we provide across the 8 counties of Western New York.
Well, Buffalo's a very giving, a very generous community. There are a lot of choices out there for how you want to help, but this particular charity, this appeal, it fills a couple of very important qualifications, and that is it's effective, efficient, and the money stays in this community.
Absolutely. Every penny that we raise stays in our Buffalo community. And we are able to leverage money that we raise through the appeal and help us gain government contracts and contracts with insurance companies, because through the appeal we build our base. Another thing I'd like to point out is Catholic Charities is a very comprehensive provider of services in Western New York, and even though people will often come to us through one door for a particular service, we find out after half an hour that there are 4 other things in their life that they need help with. And those 4 other things can be met through another program of Catholic Charities.
And there's like 70 different programs
Throughout
that
Western
you
New
guys
York,
fund.
yes.
Give me an example of some of the things that you guys do for the people of Western New York.
One of the areas of our service array that's been growing in the last few years is our workforce and education department programs. And these are services that are addressed to people, young people through adulthood who are currently either underemployed or they're struggling to find work in the community. So we provide a number of services around remedial education in reading and math, also the case management and support services that people need, like transportation, childcare, mental health services, that once people are in a training program or find a job, we're there with them, we're there standing right next to them. So in case they stumble or fall a little bit, we're there to push them back up.
And you have an event called the Day of Giving. Can you tell me a little bit about that? There's a particular day that you set aside, and it's a special day, isn't it?
Yes. We ran this event for the first time last year, and it was extremely successful. It exceeded our expectations. So we're planning to do it again this year, right around Mother's Day in May. And this will be a special push, if you will, to raise money for Catholic Charities. We hope to, as we had last year, secure donations from individuals that will be matchable. As a matter of fact, we have had an anonymous donor already pledge $50,000 towards the Day of Giving that donor will hope will be matched. So we're looking forward for another successful event in May of this year.
You have been, well, the appeal has been going since 1923.
Correct.
Is that correct? You have any idea how much has been raised in all this time?
Oh, I wish I had that.
Well, I'll bet you it's got to be an astronomical figure that's gone to the people of Western New York.
Well, I've been there 22 years, and I would hazard a guess that I hope doesn't come back to bite me. But in that 22 years, we've probably raised $200 million during that time.
It's astounding, given the challenges that Western New York has gone through over the years. How does this? Here's a good question. This kind of appeal is not just in Western New York. Throughout the country, there are other appeals like this. Is there any way that you've heard or that you know of that we compare with other areas in the country in terms of generosity. I think we've got a reputation for being a very, very generous community, given our challenges and our circumstances.
We certainly do, and it's well deserved. One of the unique aspects about the Catholic Charities appeal in Buffalo is that while every diocese across the United States has a major fund drive that supports the programs and ministries of that particular diocese, we're one of only 4 across the U.S. where Catholic Charities is the lead in the fundraising effort. And to that end, most of the money that we raise stays to fund the programs and services of our organization.
And is there a difference between the Catholic Charities and Fund for the Faith? Is that 2 separate?
Yes.
Can you explain a little bit about that?
Ever since the inception of the drive, the money raised through the Catholic Charities appeal has been split between the programs and services of Catholic Charities and then the services and ministries that are run through the Diocese of Buffalo. So this year remains the same, but one change we're implementing, and we've already implemented this year, is at the front end of your donation, you will now have a choice. And you'll have 3 choices. One is you can have the money that you give allocated the way it's been in the past to Catholic Charities and then to the Fund for the Faith. Secondly, you can designate 100% of your gifts staying with Catholic Charities, or third, you can have 100% of your gifts stay with the programs of the Fund for the Faith.
Okay, we only have about a minute left. Can you explain a little bit of the difference as to how the funds are used between the 2 different areas?
In Catholic Charities sense, so we fund a multitude of programs, about 60 different service modalities throughout the organization. Services in schools, for example. Fund for the Faith ministries include ministries to people in prison, ministries to people who are deaf, ministries that serve, and services and programs that serve people on college campuses. So those are a few that are funded through that effort. Okay.
Well, it's certainly one of the premier ways to help out your neighbors in Western New York. Every year, this is one of the best ways to contribute to the well-being of your friends, your neighbors, the people who are most in need. For more information, you go to ccwny.org, Catholic Charities, WesternNewYork.org. I'd really like to thank Dennis for being my guest here on The Big Picture, and we'll be back to talk about Habitat for Humanity, Buffalo, right after these messages.